everyone, thank you so much for clicking on this video. The fact that you are willing to sacrifice a few minutes out of your day to consume my content really does mean the world to me. Today we're going to be talking about the next episode of Doctor Who, Dot and Bubble. Oh, wow. I have got such mixed emotions and feelings about this episode. Honestly, ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. And I think after Boom, which is in my opinion the greatest episode of the season so far, followed by 73 Yards, which was another strong entry, to receive this one is weird. It's very, very weird. Ultimately, we follow Lindsey, who is one of the most unlikable leads in any Doctor Who episode in a very, very long time. And ultimately, she's figuring out that there is an alien invasion on her planet. But the entire gimmick of this episode is that everyone uses this dot and bubble system, which allows you to interact with everyone. It's obviously an allegory for social media and how we put a lot of importance onto the digital landscape and how we put a lot of importance into our perception online and how we don't even realize what's happening in the real world. I think that was a very clever allegory, but they leaned so heavily on it in this episode. And in many ways, it told a lackluster story as a result. So I'm going to kind of treat this as a sandwich. I'm going to talk about something I liked, something I didn't like, something I liked, something I didn't like. But if you guys haven't watched this episode yet, please go do that first, then come back, because I will be talking about spoilers. If you did enjoy the episode or you hated it, whatever, let's start a conversation down below and let's talk about this episode. But yes, first things first, I think everyone's going to say the exact same thing. This episode felt like an episode of Black Mirror. It had such a Black Mirror-esque feel to it, which I appreciate that Doctor Who is experimenting with its tone. I've always thought Doctor Who was at its height when every episode feels completely unique. I mean, this is a guy who travels through time and space. He has infinite possibilities of where he could go. And so I appreciate it when the show definitely tries to do something new. But, you know, experimenting with 73 Yards, which was very much fantasy heavy, folklore heavy, horror, thriller heavy, and then focusing on this, like, the tone is like, it's tonal whiplash, like, honestly. And very far removed from the stereotypical or traditional Doctor Who method of storytelling. And so it took a lot for me to actually get invested into the story because it just felt so far removed from what Doctor Who is as a concept. And so I had mixed emotions about that part of the story. But something I definitely didn't like was how much of the episode was taken up being this close to Lindsey's face or focusing on just a screen of characters. And this isn't a concept that can't work. I mean, I've watched lots of good movies where it's a computer screen. And the story works because the acting is there, the performances are there, and the script writing is tight. But we spent most of the episode with Lindsey, who was just such an unlikable character. And she's really just in your face for the majority of the episode. And so it made it very hard to actually just enjoy the episode from beginning to end. To get through the first half of this episode was a chore. And in fact, I'll say the first 35 minutes, I really had to just force myself to watch. The final 5 minutes were the highlights of the episode, but we'll talk about that near the end. Something that was disappointing to me, but the final 5 minutes again makes up for it. So I will spend a lot of time talking about this final 5 minutes. But something that I really miss is just spending time with the Doctor. After 73 Yards, where the Doctor is just absent, I was really hoping for more time with Ncuti Gatwa because he is fantastic. He might be one of my favorite Doctors. I've genuinely had so much fun with him every time he's on screen, but we just get no time with him. From 73 Yards, where he was absent, to this episode where he's largely absent, except for a few moments where he appears on a screen, leaves me wanting him more and more and more, to a point where it's frustrating. I'm not sitting here waiting for the next episode because I can see him and I'm excited. I just want to see him because I'm frustrated I haven't been seeing him. The show is called Doctor Who. I want to spend time with the titular character. And so I really just hope for the rest of the seasons we have Doctor Who-centric episodes. Ooh, and then we get a character who I really enjoyed and I loved, and he was such a break the stereotype mold, and that was Ricky. Ricky is honestly this world's version of a influencer. You know, he's got all of the followers in the world. He's attractive, he's good looking, he's accomplished, he's talented. In many ways, he's just like, he solves every problem, which would make you go, oh, he's so unlikable, he's perfect, he's flawless. I enjoyed him. The actor was charismatic, and actually, In a society where everyone is so full of themselves, Ricky was honestly the first character we meet who's humble, who understands how much he's achieved, but he doesn't allow it to go to his head. He doesn't have an inflated ego. He just wants to help people. I love Ricky. Ricky was awesome. And he was just betrayed and treated so poorly at the end of the episode. And I literally paused. I was like, are you kidding me? What the heck? Honestly, we should start a hashtag justice for Ricky, because I am properly angry at what happened to his character. All because of Lindsey, who was just so annoying. Oh, I can't stand Lindsey. She's so annoying. Calm down, Caleb. Calm down. No, honestly, what happened to Ricky broke my heart. It's been a long time since I've seen a character death in Doctor Who that hit me that hard. Because they did it in quite a brutal fashion. And, yes, it was quick. It was probably, for the most part, painless. But it was brutal, especially by Doctor Who standards. So yes, I loved Ricky as a character, but let's focus on something I didn't enjoy, and that was the villains of this episode. Those giant slugs, probably the least interesting alien design I've seen in Doctor Who in a very, very long time. And then while I do enjoy the concept of, the dot and bubble being evil, it's this AI that's learned to hate its users. I think that's great. We should all be very aware. These cell phones are getting very aware. AI's in everything right now. I don't want to get too Skynetty, but let's stay aware, people. But no, none of the villains of this episode captured my attention. I thought all of their designs were lazy, and it just let me down, unfortunately. So let's talk about the final 5 minutes, which was, in my opinion, the peak of the episode. And I wish we actually, maybe if we spent maybe the first 20 minutes with the dot and bubble situation, and then the final 20 minutes just having dialogue with Ncuti Gatwa's doctor, with Ruby Sunday, with all of the survivors of this invasion, then I probably would have enjoyed the episode more. But ultimately, we just get exposed to a whole new level of elitism and classism, which made me hate Lindsey's character even more, which made me hate all of the other characters in this episode even more. And flip, a masterclass of acting by Ncuti Gatwa. There was anger and rage and sadness and betrayal and hopelessness. Fantastic. It reminded me a lot of literally David Tennant's final moments where he's like, I could do so much more. I felt that. There's that quote, he's like fire and ice and rage. That's the Doctor. He's calm and collected, but there is, he's been around for thousands and thousands of years. He's carrying all of this weight of pain and betrayal on his shoulders, and we saw it there. And something that I've seen a lot of people complaining about is the fact that Ncuti Gatwa's character has cried in majority of the episodes. And people are getting frustrated by that. I genuinely don't have an issue with it. Every Doctor is completely different. He's just more sensitive. And I actually appreciate that about him. Real men cry. I've been crying a hell of a lot lately. Life has been very tough lately. Real men cry. It happens. It's not something to dislike a character about. Especially when you actually realize whenever he cries, it's usually because he cares so much. And all he wants is what's best for people. And it's their own ignorance that often gets in the way. So yes, guys, ultimately, I'm going to boil it down to this. The first 35 minutes made me angry and upset, and I was frustrated, and I was bored. But the final 5 minutes, I loved. Masterclass in acting, I would say brilliant storytelling, and we know what's going to happen. Episode kind of ends open-endedly, but we know what's going to happen. But guys, let me know your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love to know why. Please tell me why, because I can't see why many people would enjoy this episode. If you hated it, you share my opinions down below. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please give a thumbs up. Do not be afraid to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't yet. And I hope to see you guys again in the next video.